Let's say you live in a small space. Maybe it's an urban environment or suburban environment, which is my situation, but you have some things you want to accomplish in your garden. Maybe you need privacy, maybe you want to frame a view in your garden, maybe you need to block a very strong wind that's just pummeling your garden, or maybe you need a tree to make a statement in your garden. All of those things can be done in small spaces with trees that are bred specifically for those purposes. Columnar trees are the answer to those small space issues. I have nearly 50 trees on my suburban property, and they're not all full-size trees. That would not be possible in small spaces. And I want to show you my newest columnar small space trees that are going in today. These are Green Wall Spire crabapple trees from First Editions Trees and Shrubs. They gifted them to me, and I am really excited for them to go in. And they're going to go in my side yard garden to frame a view. You're looking at my side yard garden, and this is the sidewalk that runs in front of the house here. And then I am going to be replacing, there's 3 shrubs here. There's 1, 2, and then a third one. Those are lilac trees that I decided I didn't like what the shape was going to be ultimately. So those are going to be rehomed. And in their space will be these Green Wall Spire crabapples. This is the view from within my side yard garden looking toward the street. And I think this gives you a better idea of what I'm trying to accomplish. I want to provide a very upright frame here. The lilac trees would have been nice, but they would have taken up too much space. Those are big guys, and when I rethought that, it just seemed like something more vertical instead of vase shaped. Like these lilacs are just going to be just too massive for the space, and I felt like the crabapples, the Green Wall Spire crabapples, will give me more planting space and frame this corner better. The Green Wall Spire crabs came in containers, and I really prefer using trees that are container grown. They're just easier to plant by myself. Last week I featured that viburnum that was balled and burlapped, and that was a 2-person job, and we really muscled that into place. But these guys I can handle myself. So the Green Wall Spire crabapples get to be 18 to 20 feet tall and about 5 to 6 feet wide. They're hardy in zones 2 to 8, and they like full sun. So what I loved about it is, let me show you the tag here. They get, so you can tell the very upright habit, get those really pretty white flowers in the spring, and they're preceded by pink buds. So I just feel like, oh, and this, you can see this is fruit too. So bird friendly as well. It's got fruits on it. Let's take some of that off. It's got pretty red fruits, or they're kind of pinking up, but it's got fruits in the fall, and they're a nice size too. So bird friendly as well. Green Wall Spire crabapple gets to be about 5 to 6 feet in diameter at maturity, 18 to 20 feet tall. And because of that, I'm going to space them about 6 feet apart on center. So what that means is just making sure that there's 6 feet of space from trunk to trunk when I'm spacing them. So I'll put the center one in place first, and then measure 6 feet out in each direction to place the other 2. And you want to make sure that you know what the mature size is going to be of the tree, because if you live in an urban, suburban environment, some of these neighborhoods have have power lines overhead. That's not the case here, but many urban environments have that. And it's important to know what the mature size is of the trees that you're going to put in, because you don't want to interfere with power lines. And next thing you know, you've got the electrical companies or whatever's overhead coming back and hacking away at your trees, and then they've misshapen them and they look terrible. So you want to pick trees that are going to grow. I think the recommendation is under 25 feet tall. So this is perfect. It only gets to be about 20 feet. But if you're not sure about what the recommendations are for your area or what trees would do well in your area, for our area, Morton Arboretum has a great PDF that you can download. I'll include a link to that in the description below, so you can go right to that if you're from the Midwest, and they make tree recommendations for what would do well under power lines, and based on what you're looking for, flower color, does it flower, whatever, fall color, anything of that nature. Morton Arboretum is a great resource. But I suggest reaching out to, if you have a local arboretum or a botanical garden, and just finding out what trees are great for your area that would do well in environments where you need a lower growing tree because you have power lines overhead. So I am going to get these in place and start digging. To establish the location for my center tree on the corner here, I want to measure 3 feet in from the sidewalk, and then 3 feet in from my neighbor's property. And I like to use stakes that I have left over from just about everything to make my center point. And the reason for the 3 feet is because the mature diameter of the tree is 5 to 6 feet. So this gives me wiggle room, and that will give me enough space so that the tree won't be growing into the sidewalk or into my neighbor's property. X marks the spot. That is where the first tree is going to go, and then when I'm placing the other 2 trees, I'll be measuring 6 feet off of this. There's a saying that goes along with planting, and that is you want to put a $5 plant in a $50 hole or something like that, which means you want to make sure you're giving it plenty of space. So the rule of thumb for trees is you dig the hole twice the diameter of whatever the root ball or the container that it's in. So just giving it plenty of space to let those roots and loosen that soil, let those roots anchor in and grow as quickly as possible. So you want to start with a really good planting hole. Every tree has what's called a face. So it's got a good side and a bad side. Kind of like when people take their pictures, they want to be photographed on their good side, right? Well, trees have that too. So when you're placing your tree, you want to kind of situate it and give it a good eye and rotate it until you have the face of the tree that you like, that you're going to see most often from your vantage point. And this one needs a clockwise turn. Let's see, what do we got? That'll do. Getting it out of the pot can sometimes be the most challenging thing, especially when you're planting it by yourself. Oh, there we go. That looks pretty good. So I'm not amending this hole with any type of compost, no fertilizer. I just want the tree to get used to growing in the native soil, which I might add is really beautiful. I topped this with several inches of compost before I did anything in this bed, and the worms have worked their magic, and the soil is just beautiful. Certainly better than it was when I first started this process. But before I go ahead and backfill this tree, let me show you something first. Give you a close-up. So you can see how lots of roots. I like to get in there before I backfill, and I want to encourage these roots to grow out. So I'm going to get in there with my hori-hori knife and put a couple slices in here just so that those roots are, told that they got to stop girdling. You don't want them to keep wrapping this. You want them to grow out as soon as possible. So put a couple slices in it and put an X on the bottom and backfill it. And if you happen to watch my video from last week where I planted that balled and burlap viburnum, this is a heck of a lot easier to plant a container grown tree than it is a balled and burlap, because man, that was a beast last week. This is so much easier. And that's all there is to it. Now I just have to keep them watered through the fall, and then come spring they should have some beautiful white flowers on them that'll be very pollinator friendly, and they will have framed this view along the corner here of the bed, and I think it's perfect. And I think it's so much better than what I originally had in mind, which were some lilac trees, which were just not the right shape for the space. And I think this is the ticket. So if you're looking to block a view or maybe have a focal point or frame a view, definitely consider trees that have a narrower footprint, or the columnar trees. They're perfect for small space gardens like us. All right, guys, take it easy. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.